if you pop over to the next slide, this is kind of a high level process of what we want to do in those different environments you talked about. So we do want to get realistic data, at least from the perspective of our problem domain, of our application. So if I'm healthcare, I want healthcare data. If I'm US only, I want, addresses and names and things that are US only. But we want to do it in a way that I hope is safe. I don't know. Jeffrey, have you had any clients that have had problems with data breaches or ransomware, things like that?
Yes, both.
But
Unfortunately.
and it's amazing to me as I talk to more people how often that happens, and we don't hear about it because we only hear about the Microsofts, the Equifaxes, the really large companies. But so many data breaches come out of these dev test environments because they're not secure, and when we've moved data over, that's a problem. So often, what we do want to do is some sort of masking, anonymization, or something else. As you see on the screen, like I've taken Steve with one social security number, a tax ID, and put a different one in there for Jeffrey, because we want to kind of protect that data as much as possible, but we still want it realistic. Right? These are the two things we're working with. And then the last one, I think I've been on a quest, or maybe I'm tilting at windmills at Redgate for the last, I don't know, 8 years to say subsetting is crucial. And finally, last year we did release a subsetting tool, but to me, the ability to subset a database creates tremendous agility in my software development process. Because, while developers like to see 1 terabyte, they want to test on all this stuff and make sure their code works. The reality is it slows you down. Every time I query a terabyte, it slows me down. Every time I update anything more than a row, it's slower. And not only is slower, but it uses a lot of resources, which means that my operations infrastructure people don't like to give me multiple copies. We certainly have to work in shared environments. We're slow to refresh. There's just a tremendous amount of things that slow us down. So to me, having this realistic data, making it safe, and then subsetting it are crucial to actually create an agility in your software development process. Now, certainly at some point in time, you do want to test a query against a terabyte database and make sure it still runs appropriately. But that's far after we've built stuff and we've tested it logically, make sure it works. We're happy with it, because
Mhm.
often the tuning piece is this isn't something that I need every developer to do all the time, every day, right? That's later in the process. So we have found at Redgate, as we've worked with so many companies, that getting a smaller version of production down in a safe way to developers and then to all those intermediate environments, that automated test environment, that QA or UAT environment, that creates tremendous agility. And so this has really been our focus over the last 4 or 5 years, I guess. I was finally glad we did the subsetting thing. We got it working, but this has made a huge difference. Now, by the way, if you don't want to do any of this and you do want to just bring down production data, please just change my name to Jeffrey, and then I don't care what you do. Really, like that's I'm fine with that. Jeffrey, are you fine with that?
Go for it. The word subsetting, that I just want to call out a little bit of jargon for the developers out there that might not be just familiar with that term, and with a good software example of that. Um, Most databases are not designed to be absolutely global in nature for everybody. And one of our clients, we have full permission to talk in detail about, is a nationwide county fair software package. And part of that is auctions and prizes and blue ribbons and all this stuff. And the natural the natural segmentation is, what fair is it? Because yes, we could have an entry or award table that has a bunch of records, but every time we query it, we're adding a where statement because I'm filtering by that particular fair. I'm just never not doing that. And so if I pull back some data into a test environment, I can exercise absolutely every function of the software, but only pull back data for one fair. And so I get a subset of every individual table that kind of rolls up to the fair, record that's at the top. And most databases have some type of natural uh, chain of foreign keys that lets you, subset it by a particular account or customer or region or something.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I might take issue with most databases. Like I find a lack of foreign keys very common, and I actually find a lot of broken code in production, which is amazing to me in a database. But the example I always use, Jeffrey, is I worked for a accounting firm at one point, and we were building software to handle transactions, sales and expenses and all that kind of stuff. And as we were doing it, we're gathering these requirements, and the head of the department actually came and said, "Listen, there's really 12 types of transactions that we have to cover that they have to work. So if, we get a normal sale, we have a split sale, we have all these things." He goes, "It's really those 12 things I need to solve." And so that helped us because we realized we could just build a data set of, dozens of rows that handled those 12 types of transactions and test things very quickly, right? We can run lots of queries. We can actually, as humans, add up numbers in dozens of rows and go, does this work correctly?
Mm-hmm.
Which is something that I've seen often in production where people, run a query across a million rows, they get a number and they go, it's roughly good. And then they ask the business people and they go, yeah, that looks about right. Like it's about 1.2 million. But a lot of times I've found in actual clients, they've got calculation errors that have lived there for years that nobody pays attention to. And as a matter of fact, we have a friend that we were talking yesterday. They have a sales commission system, and he was like, if we find a bug that the sales commissions are too low, they wait if the salespeople catch it, like which is not is a moral problem, but
Yeah.
the salespeople are pretty good about they catch it quickly. You calculated my commission incorrectly. But if they don't catch a bug and it's too high, the salespeople will never tell them,
Of course not.
right? That's a problem that we see in software all the time. Those types of issues because we work with too big data sets, we don't understand them, and then we don't really test appropriately to evaluate whether or not our software does what we think it'll do.